I am not the one-take Tony that I appear. When I make these videos for you lovely people, it often ends up being a myriad of mistakes that I have to cut and edit before I send on to the editor that makes me actually sound like I know how to construct a sentence or two. But sometimes when it comes to movies, budgetary concerns, time restraints, or just a director who really wants to beat rush hour traffic means that scenes only get one chance to shine. Well, let's take a look at some of them today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 7 movie scenes that could only be done on their first take. Number 7, Peter and Ned's handshake, Spider-Man Homecoming. Many small moments of movie magic don't actually come from the pages of the script, but they actually come from the actors that are physically filming their scenes. This is true no matter the scale of the production, and even in tightly wound machines like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the filmmakers and the actors can still experiment with their scenes while shooting them to a certain extent. Case in point, one of the most charming moments in 2017's Spider-Man Homecoming was thought up on the spot by Tom Holland, who were told by director John Watts that Peter and Ned only had a matter of minutes to come up with and execute a way to end one of their scenes together. Deciding that an extended handshake would make for a cool little moment, the pair went ahead with this idea and nailed it on the first take, which is good because Watts was pretty adamant about moving on to the next part of the shoot, meaning that they had to get it right on the first go. The handshake is actually quite complex as well, so it's really impressive that the pair managed to perfect it so quickly. Holland even does it with his head facing down, which is pretty mad. Number 6, chest waxing, the 40-year-old virgin. Steve Carell has had a long and successful comedy career on both the big screen and the small screen, but perhaps the most memorable scene that he's ever appeared in came right at the beginning of his road to Hollywood stardom. In 2005's The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Andy, the titular virgin, gets his ridiculously hairy chest waxed. An extremely painful process that causes him to swear profusely. And as hilarious as his performance is in this scene, the poor guy had to go through this for real because he wasn't acting, his chest literally was that hairy. In fact, the team chose to execute this scene realistically because they felt that there was no way to convincingly fake it. And because it would have taken ages for the hair to grow back, director Judd Apatow only had one chance to capture the waxing on film. Fortunately, everything went smoothly on the very first go. Multiple cameras were set up to capture the action, but maybe they should have kept the cameras rolling to check out the bed that he was lying on that actually became soaked through with his sweat because he was that nervous. Grim, but also very funny. Number 5, the mirror smile. I, Tonya. Margot Robbie's Oscar-nominated performance, I, Tonya, is her finest work to date, and if there's one scene that demonstrates this, it is the mirror scene. The powerful moment involves Robbie's character, figure skater Tonya Harding, sitting in front of a mirror and applying some makeup to her cheeks. She breaks down sobbing while doing so, before practicing a smile to cover up her sadness. It's a highly dramatic scene that would make you think that it would have required dozens of takes to get right, but unfortunately the filmmakers just didn't have that kind of time. The production was housed in a stadium that they were about to lose access to, and with about 10 different scenes to shoot, it was a race against the clock to get everything done. This lack of time, combined with the fact that Robbie's makeup would need to be redone with each successive take, meant that the actress had to act fast, quite literally. Fortunately, Robbie was able to nail the scene in the single take that she had, creating one of the movie's most memorable moments in the process. Number 4, the leap of faith, GoldenEye. The James Bond series is no stranger to insane action stunts, and these moments often end up being the standout parts of their respective movies. This is certainly the case with 1995's GoldenEye, whose opening leap of faith stunt is easily one of the most pulse-pounding sequences in the entire film. Performed by stuntman Wayne Michaels and his massive balls of steel, the scene required him to jump off the Contra Dam in Switzerland, which stretches up to a dizzying 720 feet in height. Amazingly, he absolutely nailed it on the first take, and it's a good job that he did too, because he wasn't exactly keen to do it all over again. While the production could have refilmed the stunt if something went wrong or didn't look right, Michaels apparently told the crew that he was only going to do it one time, meaning that the leap had to be done correctly right away. And you know what? It was. It's not difficult at all to understand his nervousness here, considering that the jump from this kind of altitude, with nothing but a bit of stretchy rope for support, is a task that few people would be eager to do once, let alone twice. Number 3, crashing PENCE'S party, BORAT subsequent movie film. The two Borat movies contain some truly outrageous sequences, such as the naked hotel fight in the first film or the moon blood dance in the second. Now, while these scenes would still be quite funny if they were filmed like a normal comedy movie, what takes the humor up a notch is the fact that they're shot like a documentary, with handheld camera movements, shakiness, and the bemused extras in the scene often looking straight down the lens. But with certain moments in these movies, the documentary approach isn't just a stylistic choice. Leading man Sacha Baron Cohen actually films some of his crazy comedy stunts for real real with real unwitting people in real environments. For example, take the Mike Pence scene in 2020's Oscar-nominated Borat subsequent movie film, in which Borat, costumed to look like former President Donald Trump, crashes the Conservative Political Action Conference and interrupts Pence's speech to the frustration of the attending crowd. While this scene could have probably been pulled off in a less effective way using Hollywood trickery, like green screen, CGI or body doubles, Baron Cohen actually did it for real, meaning that he had to get it right on the very first take. After performing the stunt, Sacha Baron Cohen was escorted from the building by security, and they obviously wouldn't have let him back in for another go. Number 2. Christopher Nolan's property destruction. In various movies, Christopher Nolan is famous for preferring practical effects over digital ones, going out of his way to capture as many scenes as possible in camera. This greatly benefits us, the viewers, because scenes like the reverse car chase in Tenet are so adrenaline pumping because they feel totally real. But from a behind-the-scenes perspective, shooting all of this crazy action practically is a logistical nightmare. For starters, there are many more safety concerns involved, and on top of this, it's also really time-consuming. And sometimes it's just downright impossible to reset each shot and do another take, and as a result, many action beats in Nolan's films simply had to be captured the first time that they were attempted. The hospital explosion in The Dark Knight is a perfect example of this. To record the stunt, Nolan's team converted an old candy factory into Gotham Central and blew it up for real. Obviously, once the building went up in a ball of flame and smoke, it couldn't exactly be used for a second take, so everything had to go smoothly on the first go. And as we all know, it almost didn't, with the explosion being heavily delayed, but luckily, it turned out to be one of the most memorable moments in the film. For such a mild-mannered British guy, Nolan has quite the thirst for destruction. And number 1, an actual solar eclipse, Nomad. So blowing up buildings and crashing planes are undoubtedly impressive feats of practical effects wizardry, but how about filming a real solar eclipse, an incredibly rare natural event that lasts for roughly 2 minutes? This was the challenge facing the filmmakers behind Nomad, an indie sci-fi movie about a man who spontaneously moves to a different part of the world every 12 hours. Presumably he ends up near an eclipse at some point, and the director, Taron Lexton, decided to try and capture the real thing when it came to shooting a solar eclipse. The shoot occurred in summer 2019, and ahead of time, countless different locations were scouted so that the best spot could be found. The actors rehearsed extensively for this scene, and in the end, it took 10 people 3 full days to ensure that everything was properly prepared. Even on a low budget, a solar eclipse would be relatively easy to fake using CGI, but the director and his crew were actually successful in their mission, recording some stunning imagery in the brief 2-minute window that they had. It truly is a one-take wonder. And there we go, my friends. Those were 7 movie scenes that could only be done on the first take. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice. That's Dice with a C, where I do all of my streaming outside of work. It'd be great to see you over there, my friends. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Even though we detailed today about things that had to be right on the first take, in life, that is not something that happens very often. Sometimes we will have to try and try again before we make any headway with projects or personal aspirations. And that is completely okay. Failure, while not being a fun experience at all, is a teacher. It can teach you where your limitations are, where you need help, and where you need to grow as a person in order to achieve your goals. So don't be afraid of trying because of failure. Don't be afraid of getting it right perfectly the first time around, because we all make mistakes. We're all human at the end of the day. So I ask you to keep trying and not beat yourself up if you have made mistakes. All right? As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.